Hello and welcome to how I play my level 100 Shadowknight. So we're going to talk about spells, we're going to talk about my hotbar, we're going to talk about how I have my character keys multibound. We'll talk about gear, we'll talk about the transmog that I have on my sword, because I get a lot of questions about that. And anything else I think of. So first up, all these videos built upon each other, right? I'm building a character, right? From level 50 all the way to 125, maybe 130 by the time we're done. I'm building a character, and everything changes slightly from video to video. So if you watched 50 to 55 all the way to 95, you're going to see a lot of patterns in how I play and how I line up my spells, right? Currently we have 13 spell slots, so these are the spells I use at all times, and I do not deviate from these spells during normal gameplay. So first up, we have Demand for Power. This is our long range. It's kind of like a taunt. It's like a defensive because it increases our armor class when it lands. Like if I cast on this dummy here, right? If he resisted the recourse, right? It's a trigger chance. I resisted again, but anyway, it'll put this debuff on him that'll increase our armor class. So that's kind of nice to have whenever it goes and works. So I have that. I use that for pulling. At level 125, it becomes instacast. It looks like it's instacast right now via the AAs. So if we go here to focus and then improved demand for power, you can kind of see there's a whole focus line for this spell. It does a lot of things at this point, right? It'll slow undead, it'll lower their chance to dual wield, it'll also increase our lowers their strength, reduces their strength by 195, dexterity and agility, applies to all those. Now, the cool thing is it increases the duration by 6 seconds, and there should be one where it lowers the cast time to make it instant, because it's normally not insta-cast. You can see here it's a 0.5 second cast time. I could have another buff on me right now that's doing that. So, but great spell. I cast it a lot. I used to have it in the Multibind. I do no longer have it in the Multibind. I cast it manually now instead of with my spam button, but it should not be in your multibind. Unless you want to be lazy, you can put it in there if you want, but it gets cast way too much for the recast time on it and stuff, so it's not worth having in there. Spear of Grelith is our current level spear spell, so this is like direct damage, long recast, near instant cast at a 0.16 seconds. I'll target this dummy, right? Like you can barely see the cast bar as it pops up there. It does 57 damage with a chance to do more damage via all the stuff I have and all the other things that the other classes I am grouped with will benefit, right? I did 247 with that one. Let's do one more here and see what kind of damage we get. There we go, 44,040 from a critical. So it's a very nice high damage spell. Long recast time. I think it's like 30 seconds. So next up, I have Ralstok's Bite. This is our group life mana tap. Now, I like this spell because it gives mana back to my casters. I'm running a wizard, a mage, and a beast lord, so it's nice to give back, right? It's nice to give back. So it's a fairly fast cast, not too fast. It will do 2100 life tap on hit, and then a 9600 damage that does 10% back as mana. So that should hit everybody in the group, so it's pretty nice. Next up, I have a Touch of Kalonda. This is our life tap that gives us temporary hit points. Now, I like to cast these because I like more hit points. I like to do stupid stuff, pull lots of mobs. You can see here, let me see if I can find the buff here. It's got a It's got a buff somewhere over here. Something recourse, I believe. Yeah, here it is. Gift to Kalanda, right? So we'll take that off. So I'm at 135,000 hit points. Take that off 133. So let's just call it 2,000-ish hit points. So it's probably about the same as the amount of damage it does. Now this is one of those kind of buffs that you initially get, you know, say 2,000 hit points, but then it decays over time back down to 0. But I cast it on cooldown, so that doesn't really affect me too much. And you can see here how fast that recharge time is at 10 seconds. So that's never gonna really happen since the buff has a 14-minute duration. Next up, I have Dire Insulation. Insuation. I don't even know. 7,000 point life tap. And this is a pretty strong one. 23-second reuse. 34,000 life tap on a critical, right? I typically, when I'm fighting stuff that is not pushing my limit, right? So if you think of it like this, right? You're fighting a mob that is blue or lower, right? Those are what I consider trivial mobs. I don't need healing for those. Now, if I'm fighting a mob that is yellow to red, or, you know, super red, as in, you know, say I'm 100 and I'm fighting a 105, 106 mob, those are pushing it. Now, on the pushing it mobs, I need healing. There's no joke about that. On the trivial mobs, I don't need healing because I'm healing myself so much with my life taps that I just don't need it. Unless I'm fighting multiples, and then that's a different story. So I cast that on cooldown. Touch of Falson. This is another life tap, 3,600. Now this one does not have, I believe, the same length, long, 23 seconds. It's a 10-second recast. So that's their non-critical 6,500. So it like pretty much doubles with all the AAs we got, right? We have tons of AAs that benefit our life taps and our spellcasting abilities to make us do more damage. Next up, I have Terror of Pyora. Now, this is a insta-cast taunt. I cast it on cooldown because, one, I want aggro at all times off of anything. And you can see there, insta-cast gives me, what is that? It doesn't say the amount of hatred, but it's probably like 10,000 hatred or something like that. So I'm always at the top of the hate list. Now, why do I always cast this on cooldown? My casters sometimes will get criticals that will pull aggro. My mage will summon a pet that will just somehow pull aggro. And if I'm not constantly generating more hatred and more and more and more and more, they can get hit. And I don't like it. I don't like my characters getting hit. So I like to push everything out as much as I can and do as much as I can, hatred-wise, damage-wise, everything. I like to push, push, push. So that's how I play. And always casting this works. Now, I used to use this as my pull ability, but now that Demand for Power is like near instant cast, and it has that recourse that when it lands, it's fantastic, another 140 AC. I just do this in the Multibind. It is insta-cast with a 5-second reuse, so it gets cast quite a bit in my Multibind, keeping that going there. Next up, I have 2 dots. Now, if you watch the videos on Hobbs and Friends, I do not use these. Now, not to say that I don't ever use them, I just don't use them in normal gameplay because what? They're 42-second duration, 112 or 1 minute and 12-second duration. What does that mean? That means the mob has to stay alive for 1 minute and 12 seconds or 42 seconds. Now, if you've seen what I kill in House of Thule, I'm instantly almost killing everything. Even the names, they just drop. So there's no chance that I'm going to cast a dot. Now, some of these have like instant damage, right? Like I don't think these ones do. Yeah, they don't have like a initial damage on them. So there's no like, oh, I'm going to get a free 43,000 damage off this dot, even though it's, you know, not going to tick for more than a second. Now, when do I use these, and why do I even have them memorized? I use these on content I'm pushing. Now, you'll see that, like, in my bags, I have Empires of Kunark stuff, right? I'm doing the story quests for House of Thule, and I'm doing the mercenaries for Empires of Kunark, so that when we get to Empires of Kunark, we're ready. And instead of Empires of Kunark, those mobs are hard. Look, I'm pushing real hard. The shaman can barely keep up. It's so fantastically fun. And I use dots. I actually dot them up while I'm pulling the mobs in from, like I'm in Lysanium, and I dot them up, and it works pretty good. Like when we get to the group video where I show all 6 characters at once, that'll be in Lysanium. And you'll see, how I actually do this. But these dots, they look at the damage here. I'm getting 28, 44k crits. I mean, these aren't bad damage. It's pretty nice. So I have those there. Now, this spell is very interesting. This used to be the point blank AoE taunt. Now, I'll probably move it back in if this line does not continue. This is a Call of the Forsaken spell. I got this spell from doing the Gribbles mission. That's why it's rank 2 and everything else is rank 1. So it's interesting. Now, this is a AoE life tap that heals me for a lot of the damage. Now, I don't know if this spell line continues, because I don't even have this on my 120 Shadowknight. I'm not sure where I missed buying this or whatever, but this one, I saw this and I was like, well, wow, that is a cool spell. Now, I have 3 AoE taunt AAs, so using this kind of makes me feel like I might be able to get away with it. Now, if we go over here, right, I have spell effects on. If I hit the button, it hits every single one of these 30 mobs, and they can all heal me for 4,500. Now, if you've seen some of my pulls in House of Thule, I get some pretty big ones, and I feel like this is kind of like a nice little benefit just to mess around with when fighting lower level mobs. Now, when I say lower level, I mean like blue mobs, like light blue mobs. I don't think I could tank, 5 yellows using this spell. I don't think I could. I think I would die fairly quickly. Even cons, I'd probably still die. Now, the blues and lower, I'm getting a lot of benefit from all my other stuff when I do it. So it's kind of a nice little fun spell. I have it in now. We'll see how it goes long term. But I feel like this is a pretty nice one. I got this from the Gribbles mission. You can buy it in Call of the Forsaken for, I think, 900 marks of valor. You can also buy it for, I think, rank 1 for platinum. So that's where I got that. Next up, I have Steadfast Stance. Now, Steadfast Stance is a HP buff that is temporary. It will fade over time. So, you start at 13,000 and then you go down to 10. So and so and so. Now, this is a pretty nice buff. I cast it as much as I can. I'm pretty bad now. It puts me at, I'm fully buffed right now. When we talk about gear, I'll take off all my buffs and we'll see where I'm at. But if about 149,000, 150, 60,000 is probably where I get top hit points right now. There's some other, spells and stuff in. I'm not in a group with my shaman right now, so I'm not getting the benefit from the shaman buff and stuff like that. So it's about 150, 160,000 hit points at any given time is about what I have, which is, I think, pretty good for level 100. Obviously my gear is out of era, but pretty good. So I keep this up as much as I can. It's a 7-minute duration. There is an AA that focuses it. Extended Steely Stance here. Now I'm rank 4 in this. This is from the auto grant. And as we get to 125, this will continue to buff this line of spells. And you should always cast it. I keep it memorized at all times because it does have a longer duration, recast time. And then I have Gorilla Skin, which is a gives our skin a sickly hue that sometimes hardens and absorbs the impact of attacks made against us. This is just kind of like a hit absorption kind of. It's like a shield, like, if you will, like if you a bubble. It just gives me a little bit, little off the top, right? It gives all the damage a haircut. Keep this up at all times. This is probably one of the most important spells that we have. Now, that is my everyday spells. Now, we do have Dark Lord's Unity, Asia, and then we did pick up at level 100 Basia. I'm going to talk about Asia because that's what I use. Basia is more focused around draining how. So the other one gives us attack. Yeah, this one gives us the hits for mana. I go with the hits for hit points. So this casts a lot of other spells. So Shroud of Dark Sworn, which just gives us some hit points. No, this one gives us the life tap chance. This one, Gorilla's Horror, gives us a chance to, what is this here? Heal us for stuff, more life taps. Drape of the Fallen, this one gives us hit points, armor class, and a proc damage shield. And Remorseless Demeanor, this one gives us better life taps, and Zombie Skin gives us a damage shield, and Phaotep's Covenant converts our health into mana, and Call of the Doomhaze see here, drains our health to give us more attack. Now, all those get cast when you cast Dark Lord's Unity, and so this is just a fantastic spell. Otherwise, I would have a separate spell set, literally just me with buffs casting all this stuff. Now, these buffs have a pretty long duration, like 6 hours, 2 hours, 5 hours, 2 hours, so it's not like you have to cast it very often, but it's definitely something to always cast. And you get this at level 75. I don't think I've ever covered in detail all the stuff that it does, but there's that. And then I also do the pet. Pet is terrible. The pet is terrible. If you're not a mage, you're not a beast lord, you're not a necromancer, your pet is terrible. Like, there's no joke about it. But it is damage. The pet is extra damage, right? Like, if I send him in smashing, no. Other melee, here we go. I mean, he's hitting for 1,000, crits for 2,200. It's not terrible. He's like a dot that is really weak. So I mean, it's not bad, but he's not. He dies to House of Thule Mops. He's not that good. But I cast it and I keep it up at all times. There is a pet buff, Grift of Falson. It just gives him haste so he can, I don't know, hit a little bit faster. All right, so that's all the spells. That's a lot to take in there. A lot going on with all that. My multibind. So I've changed it since from 95 to 100. I mentioned I took Demand of Power out of the multibind. I felt like it was being cast too much for the 30-second recourse time, right? And I felt like it was it's not a huge mana drain, but it felt like it was taking away from getting some of these other spells to land. Now you'll notice at the end here, I do have my disease dot in the multibind, just in case somehow it gets there. Somehow all these other abilities go off, it will go off. And then I have the AoE life tap in there too. So let's go ahead and talk about my bars, and we'll go into a little bit more detail into this. So my hide corpse NPC button macro here, all that does is forage and puts everything in my bag. Encroaching Darkness, sometimes I have to snare. Sometimes I have to snare, so I have it on here on my bar so I can easily hit it. That doesn't happen very often, but sometimes I do. I have the multi-bound button here. It's the same button, just put in 2 spots. So, I should probably give a little example of what multi-binding is. If we go here to hotbar, I think it's like 7, 6. Here we go. You see that I have all the buttons on the hotbar, like right here, set to 4. All the buttons on this hotbar are set to 5 too. So the way the Everquest client works is it allows you to set 2 buttons to any button on the hotbar, and if you can use the same button. So that allows you to multi-bind your keys and kind of get away with doing it that way. Now, you don't have to use the alternate. I started doing that because I was doing dots with a necromancer, and you know, it lets me do one thing with some characters and do something else with another characters with only changing one button. So it works for me, but you can really just do it with one button and not have to worry about it. Now, so everything, when I hit 4, everything with the 4 on it gets hit, and when I hit 5, everything with the 4 on it gets hit also. So keep that in mind. So my multi-bind button is just turn attack on, pet attack, pet swarm, first button. Then I do taunt. I always taunt. I always want to be at the top of the aggro, even if it does nothing. I don't care. Doesn't matter. Reprove is our absorb. It gives us next 2 melee attacks. Gives us a little bit of mitigation there. Now, later on, at 105, Reprove is going to be our synergy spell here. It becomes Repel, and it allows us to absorb 5,000 damage from 5 hits for everybody in the group. So it's a very nice spell. So spell-wise, I do Spear of Grelith, I do Bite, I do Terror, I do Touch of Kalanda, Dire Insulation, Touch of Falson, Group Life Tap, Dire Stricture, I think. The text is really small, I can't see it. And then AA abilities, I'd have Chattering Bone, which is our swarm pet. Just summons a bunch of little skeletons, or I guess one skeleton now, to attack. Bite of Chaos, which is just a direct damage ability that heals us and restores a little bit of mana. Ageless Enmity, this is a taunt, does 6,000 points of hate. Projection of Doom summons a level 100 projection that generates hatred and gives it to me. Gashing Blade is a discipline. This will strike our target twice with a Gashing Blade, does a little bit of damage. 1 minute reuse, takes endurance. Unbroken Acromedy. This is, let's see, makes the target attack me for 18 seconds, drains their lives, and cause the allies to generate less hatred. And Crimson Blade. This is a little bit lower level one. I don't believe we got a replacement for it until... Oh, no, there is. Scarlet Blade. There we go. There's got to be a reason why I don't have it on there. Maybe I didn't know I didn't have it. Looks the exact same. All right, let's move that in. Scarlet Blade. Scarlet Blade. Level 100. This is let's see, strikes your target with 3 powerful sword attacks and places you in a rage, which will increase your spell and melee power. 20-minute reuse. This is more of a burn discipline, I suppose, but I just do it on cooldown. Like, if I save things, I'll never use it, right? Like, I don't know if you've ever really played like Diablo or something like that, and you're like saving potions or something like that. That's me. I save the potions and I never use them, right? So now I just burn everything at all times. That makes sense. And then we have Avil's Resolve here. This is another attack ability. So this is a 15-minute reuse. When activated, strikes your target with 3 400-point two-handed hits, and adds weakness debuff to the mob, making them take more melee damage for 1 minute for 16%. So it's a nice little debuff. I do it on cooldown. You probably, you know, if you're not playing the way I play, you know, you're playing in, you know, a group situation with real players, you know, obviously you're going to want to save some of these things for what makes sense. But since the way I play is I just play by myself, I don't really care about the synergy of that right now. If I was raiding, you know, obviously this would be completely different. So something to keep in mind there. All right, so that's everything I have in my multibind. So we can continue here. AoE taunt, I just activate Explosion of Hatred, Explosion of Spite, and Steam of Hatred. And then I cast 10, which is our AoE left tap. I just spam that until all of those activate. And usually every mob is on me at that point, and no one else will die. It's gets pretty crazy sometimes. Now, I only have one burn button right now. I'm not 100% ready to commit to building burn buttons for this character yet. But I do have Spire of the Reavers, Projection of Doom, and Forceful Rejuvenation, which will reset any life tap timers over here that are down. And then I use the Breastplate, which currently does Sword of Corruption, which will, this sword will life tap up to 4 nearby hated enemies for 7,500 every 5 seconds, up to 20 strikes. So it gives me a little bit of health back, so it's pretty nice. There are a few other abilities that I'd put in there, but at the moment I kind of just manually cast them, right? I have the leech, the harm touch, stuff here, harm touch, leech touch. So harm touch, 31,000 or 318,000 damage. Leech touch, what is that? 40,000 damage, and then thought leech, 15,000 damage for mana. So got a lot of benefit there. Then we have Visage of Death, which is another kind of burn ability. Increases our base melee damage by 250%. And then the Visage of Decay, which will increase the base damage of our spells. So one gives us more melee, one gives us more spell damage, depending on the situation. Shield Flash just gives us a shield. We don't use a shield, so it doesn't. I don't think that actually does anything. Stuff like that. So the Death's Effigy, this just is our 100% feign death, right? Drops all aggro. I get a mount, and then I have my pull ability. I pull with my mouse, numpad 1, which is Terror right now, actually. Oh, I was casting the wrong spell the whole time. There we go. That makes sense. I play a paladin also, and the hotbars are the exact same. All right, so earlier on I was talking about how I was casting Demand for Power. It's actually Shift, numpad 1. I'm sorry. A paladin has them swapped. There we go. So you can see here that the Demand for Power gets cast on there. I'd use Terror to pull because it's instant at the moment, but later on, Demand for Power becomes the insta cast. That's what I was talking about. Jeez, I'm not redoing the whole video for that. I do have a hot button for casting the dots, so numpad 4. You can see there, it just casts the spells really quick, right? Kind of saves me the time from having to, click them manually. Death Piece, which is just our AA Feign Death. Cloak of Shadows, our AA Invis. And our self buff, which just casts Steadfast Stance and Grellis Skin. Just saves me some time. All my characters have a numpad 7 button that does some kind of self buffs. I click it and they cast those buffs, whatever they are. I don't know why he's not doing it. There we go. Oh, fizzled. It fizzled. That's funny. There we go. All right, so let's see. Hate Step is just our teleport. There, Hate's Attraction will summon mobs. To me, it's like the Scorpion get over here kind of thing. It's kind of cool. Then the rest of this bar is just teleportation items to get around the world. Demand for Power. So I hit Shift numpad 1, Demand for Power, numpad 1, Terror, right? So just some convenience features for me. Then the rest of this is the Multibind. I do have Lessons of Devout right here. I keep it on the same place for everybody, so I can broadcast with IS Boxer and just click it on one and they all do it at the same time versus me switching to each screen and doing it. So that's my multi-bind. Let's see, we talked about a lot of these already. A lot of that. These are just things. Voice of Thule, you're going to want to keep this up at all times. It is a 15-minute duration, but it increases our aggro by 25%, or whoever you cast it on by 25%. You don't like that, that other guy in your group, cast it on him and watch him get aggro. Let's see here. That's a bit it. So let's talk about gear, right? So first up, I get asked about this weapon in a lot of comments. Now, I'm currently using the TBM Armsman Greatsword. This is a standard weapon, but it does have the Azure Scale Right or Scale Rot Greatsword ornamentation from the pre-order of the Outer Brood. That is why it looks so cool. Otherwise, it looks terrible. Let's see if we can just like a plain sword otherwise, right? Put this on there and then re-equip it, and it looks like a thing. So that's all it is. It's a basic sword. Now this is probably one of the better swords you can get in a group level right now, since it is a TBM, the Broken Mirror weapon. In fact, all my gear is a Broken Mirror. It's all set to the level 100 to 105 range of augments. So it gives me a little bit of stuff here. Let's take off all my buffs, and we can kind of take a look at what we're dealing with here. Let's see here. Let's get them all off. Wow, there's just so many buffs. All right, so 89. Oh wait, there's more buffs over here. Let's click all these off. All right, 89,000 hit points with no buffs at all. Now, if I take my mount and I get my mount on, it takes us up to 93,000. So that's, you know, I would say that's probably about where I'm at normally, right? Like no buffs, nothing. Now, I do have, you know, level 125 characters that do buff these. I do stand out in the lag pile and guild lobby here on FV to get buffs too. So if you feel like you're struggling in something, always go get buffs, because it helps a lot when doing stuff. Now I've done all the House of Thule stuff with no buffs except for what my group can cast, because I have died, and I don't waste my time going to get more buffs unless it's, you know, during a mission or something like that. So all the gear is currently, you know, the Broken Mirror stuff, and I'm going to keep that till 105, and then at 106 I'm going to give everybody conflagrant gear from the Ring of Scale, just because it is easy to craft and it syncs everybody up to the same tier level of gear. And then from there they're gonna have to hunt for what they wear, because that's gonna be where it kind of the buck starts. But you can see here it's, you know, pretty standard. If we look at my stats here, let's actually take the mount off, since we can see this a little bit better here. 162% haste with just my gear, and you know, the heroic stats. Now the one thing about this gear is, in the Broken Mirror, is when they add the type 5s, so every single one of these slots has a type 5 aug. I do heroic dexterity. Seems to be the general consensus for all Shadow Knights, except raiding Shadow Knights is heroic dexterity, because of the benefits of more riposte, parries, dodges. I think it helps with procs and stuff like that, so theoretically it helps. Now another option would be heroic stamina, which would just give us more hit points, and it will increase the, let's see, what is it, shielding, strike through, and all that stuff, I believe, giving us I believe that's what that does. Maybe some other mitigation stuff that it does there. The other option, the third option that I would consider, would be heroic agility. Now, I do heroic agility on my 125 paladin, and you know, I don't really notice much. He's like a god in the stuff, but he can complete all the group content, but I don't feel like I notice anything. I haven't bought him Dexogs to like do a comparison, but I just don't feel like agility does much. But I haven't parsed it. It's just a feeling. So I'm going with Dex on this guy, just because that's the general consensus of all the high level Shadow Knights. Some even say use Dexogs in raiding, so it just depends on what your situation is there. But I'm going to continue with Dexogs all the way to 125 unless something changes and I need to go to stamina or agility, but I don't feel like I will have to at any point. So you can see there that does give us, you know, a significant more agility. Now, all the armor before TBM gear does not have Type 5 slots, so you'll see that, you know, that's just a benefit. That gives me more stats, gives me more everything. Like each of these AUGs, you know, it's 28 dexterity, but it's also 9 of everything else. So you can see we're capped on all our stats here except charisma. And looks like our strength isn't capped, really. Yeah, I don't know. So it's just, it is what it is when it comes to some of that, you know. That's weird, the strength's so low. But the gear puts us over the cap. Now, some shaman buffs and stuff will boost that more, so you're going to want to always have like the shaman dexterity buff and stuff like that too. Now, let me see here. I don't like. There's none of these are like focuses that I would really. You know, you want all the focuses, right? The bracer does the disease. I believe the other one should do poison. Yeah, the other one does poison. That just gives us more damage. Oh, you want to make sure you have an anger mask on, Echo of Anger, to get more threat. Usually restricted to the tank classes, plus a bard for some reason. Yeah. Let's see here. So that's the gear. Like it's all the same set, right? And when I get into the next tier at 106 is when we'll switch again to Conflagrant. So that'll be then. That's Ring of Scale, Trade Skill 2. It's like tier 2 because in Ring of Scale, the Trade Skill gear is tier 2, and the group gear that you get from the final missions is tier 3. Whereas in all the rest of them, it's tier 1, tier 2, and then Trade Skill. So interesting, eh? Yeah. Yeah. So that's that. I can't really think of anything else, but yeah, like it's pretty basic. Like we have no buffs now, so let's just attack this one, right? So it's just, get in, and then all I do is I hit 5. That's all I'm doing right now, is hitting 5. Only button I'm pushing is 5. Let's go over the main chat so we don't see all the spam. And it works really well. Like, I don't have my parser going right now, but it doesn't really matter because I'm not the top DPS in my group anymore. And the Shadowknight shouldn't be the top DPS in your group. If it is, something might be going wrong. You should always have a DPS class in the top DPS slot. Now, not saying he doesn't do a lot of damage, but he's able to do everything that he needs to do. But everything just works in the way I like to play. So a little bit of a longer video. My voice, I lost it and delayed this video, but hopefully it's not too bad right now. But if there's any questions or comments that I missed something that I normally go over, let me know. But that is how I play my level 100 Shadowknight. Thank you very much for watching, and please have a fantastic day.